To the average passerby, this herd of cattle looks like any other grazing in a picturesque paddock. These cows are actually some of the world's most exclusive. Their marbled meat sells for hundreds of dollars a kilo, and beef produced by niche Wagyu breeders like David Blackmore is sought after by top chefs and fancy eateries the world over.
Wagyu produce beef like no other breed in the world, and with the marbling and it being a monounsaturated fat as well, and the fact that the fat doesn't come out of the marbling, doesn't come out of the carcass, it just gets, when it's cooked, it just dissolves and comes back into the muscle, so you don't get any shrinkage. The flavours and things are just so unique to Wagyu that it was just an eye-opener. Come on, girls. Come on, girls.
The Blackmore family have been cattle farmers for generations. But it was only about 16 years ago that David Blackmore decided to take a risk and invest in 100% full-blood Wagyu. This type of cattle breeding is a lot more work, and it takes a lot more money to produce the special marbled meat that's in such high demand.
I happened to be in the United States and got word that these cattle were coming out of quarantine in the US, and so I went and secured the exclusivity of them to bring them the genetics to Australia. So an embryo frozen in liquid nitrogen could come to Australia with no disease risk. And so we brought those embryos to Australia and transferred them into surrogates here, and that was the start of the Wagyu herd.
For centuries, cattle like the ones you see here were bred only in Japan. But during a 4-year window during the mid-1990s, select breeders from countries like the United States and Australia were given rare access to 100% full-blood Wagyu genes. In this time, not only did full-blood Wagyu become available outside of Japan, but stronger industrial and cultural ties were forged between nations.
It's 12 years since any genetics has left Japan, so we've learnt a lot from the Japanese. We find that they're very pleased to help us, and I think more so of ourselves, because we really respect their tradition and the heritage that the Wagyu cattle are to the Japanese people, so we include that in our program.
Since his first foray into the full-blood Wagyu industry, David has developed a world-class breeding program on his property located on the scenic Goulburn River in Victoria. Today, he's preparing some of his best ladies for an imminent embryo transfer.
TO39 2.5.
But it's not just meticulous farm management that allows him to produce some of the best Wagyu around. David spent decades researching, testing and breeding various combinations of full-blood Wagyu genes in a bid to produce an animal with superior body structure and exquisite meat quality.
Actually mix and cross these different bloodlines together to produce an animal that could actually survive on Australian grazing conditions, which is much different than what happens in Japan, and to probably put a bit more weight and a bit more size in our cattle, a bit more strength and constitution, which we needed, and to produce the product that we've got today.
And the bloodline of each and every calf born on the Blackmore estate can be traced, and it's as simple as looking at a cow's nose.
This is a registration certificate of an animal that was born in Japan and exported to the United States. It's a 3-generation pedigree, and so that everybody knows it is the exact animal, we actually put the nose print on it. Bit of ink on the calf's nose, on the paper, and the nose print is recorded with the certificate. That can always be checked because it's like humans. Every nose print is different, every fingerprint is different.
The introduction of full-blood Wagyu into local produce markets has delighted the country's fine food industry. Neil Perry, owner and founder of the prestigious Rockpool restaurants, says it's always good when a rare and exquisite product can be found so close to home.
For me, it was important to have the very best Wagyu that I could get outside of Japan. And I went to him and talked to him about the fact that then I wanted to dry age it and I wanted to buy whole carcasses, and there was a whole lot of other parameters that I threw around it.
And good Wagyu costs good money. A 220-gram sirloin will set you back about $100. It's not a cheap eat, but distributors say consumers at home and abroad can't seem to get enough of the melt-in-your-mouth sensation of the marbled meat. In Japan, the demand for full-blood Wagyu meat currently outstrips supply. Farmers there just can't produce enough. And as one of David's key distributors told me, that shortage has thrown the Southeast Asian beef market right open.
Obviously for us, and specifically China, we opened up an operation there in 2007, and there's this incredible demand for Wagyu over there, particularly full-blood Wagyu.
Centuries ago, full-blood Wagyu was a well-kept Japanese secret, but thanks to a rare 4-year window of history, a national treasure has become one of the fine food industry's most coveted ingredients.